Our discussion on IAS 19 is primarily going to be about the defined benefit plan because that is something that is most frequently tested in the SBR exam. Now, the discussion on defined benefit plans and their accounting starts with an understanding of the fact that in a defined benefit pension plan, there are three elements of the financial statements that will be affected: the balance sheet, the P&L, and the other comprehensive income. Now, at the start of the year and at the end of the year, you will remeasure everything to fair value. So in the exam, the way it will look like is, or this is what you have to keep in mind. You start with the opening net value of obligation. How do you start with that? The calculation would be PV of obligation minus fair value of plan assets. Okay. So आपका present value of the obligation minus fair value of the plan asset. Just again, this figure will be given to you in the question. If this turns out to be a net asset position and not a net obligation position, show it with a minus sign, don't show it with a plus sign. ठीक है. अगर आपका net asset position आता है तो show it with a minus sign. Add the interest on net obligation. This will be given to you in the question. They could either say that interest on good quality corporate bonds is so and so, or something like this. To that, they will add the current and past service cost. This will be given in the question. The current and past service cost goes to P&L account, less contribution made to the plan, add less impact of curtailment, and you will get the closing book value of obligation. Okay, opening balance plus these three items will give you the closing net book value of obligation. Compare that with the net fair value. So take the PV of obligation minus the fair value of plan assets. Again, this value will be given to you in the question. The difference between A and B goes to other comprehensive income. It is known as the remeasurement component. The reason why this calculation is done is that the actuarial valuations and the actuarial values will change, and that will have an impact on the items that are shown in your financial statements. Now, you could have only one. Okay, you will either have a net asset position or a net obligation position. एक time पे दो नहीं हो सकता. So if the present value of plan obligation is greater than fair value of plan assets, then interest expense will be greater than interest income. It would be an interest on net obligation. It will be like an expense. If the present value of plan obligation is less than the fair value of plan assets, then expense is less than income. It would be a net benefit. It will be like an income in your P&L. Tell me something. Contribution made to plan तो is subtracted here. Benefits paid का कुछ impact होता है इस calculation पे? No. Why? Because the amount of benefit paid will be subtracted from the net obligation. So it say for example, I have to give retirement benefit to Harsha. Okay. If I am paying her 80,000, then 80,000 gets deducted from the present value of obligation, because that is the amount payable, so that will get subtracted. And because how do I pay that amount to her? What I will do is I will liquidate my investments, है ना? तो मैं entry record करूंगा, bank account debit to investment in plan assets, and then Harsha's account debit to bank account. तो ultimately क्या होगा? My obligation and my plan assets both reduce by the same amount when I'm making any payment to an individual. So पेमेंट ऑफ बेनिफिट्स इज नॉट सब्ट्रैक्टेड एनीवेयर. इनफैक्ट उसका कोई कैलकुलेशन पे कोई इंपैक्ट नहीं होगा. ठीक है. नाउ प्लान असेट्स एंड you will have to keep in mind that in case of plan, आपको plan asset का breakup and all of that will not be required. But what are plan assets? These are basically assets held by a company, assets held by a long-term employee benefit fund, and qualifying insurance policies. Why are these insurance policies taken? These insurance policies are taken so that tomorrow, if the company does not have enough funds to give to these employees when the payment of obligation is due, if the company doesn't have enough money to pay at that particular point, so how do you tackle the situation? You will have an insurance policy with you, and that insurance policy can then be claimed and you can make payment to these individual employees. ठीक है. चलो, can you tell me what are service costs? Harsha, what are service costs?
Service cost basically includes current service cost, past service cost, and any gain or loss on the settlement.
Okay. So basically, amounts that become payable to employees because of the fact that they have worked with the organization, those are our service cost. Okay. What are past service costs and how are they different from present service cost? कुछ है उसका connection या meaning? Anything else? What are past service cost? Past service cost is basically an amount that, so for example, till the current year, you were supposed to pay a provident fund benefit of 10% to your employees. What happened is that the company made some changes retrospectively. That is, they have said that we will give you additional pension benefits for the period starting, say, 1st of April 2022. तो जो past में उनको आपने सैलरी दिया उसके ऊपर now you are going to pay them additional 2%. That part goes to past service cost. ठीक है, एक बार ये पढ़ो तो you will get what we discussed just now, you will get some idea on what the past service cost is, not that it has an impact on any of the calculations. Okay. Yeah. So again, people who were with me in the regular batch, आप genuinely मत रुको.
Yes.
आप
Thanks,
आराम
Rakesh.
करो. ये सब हो चुका है ना? आई एम श्योर बाकियों का भी हो चुका है. नॉट क्वेश्चनिंग.
Yes.
अभी चिल. अभी त्रिषा, हर्षा, सिमरोज said if you want to wait you wait, but if you have watched my recordings anywhere, टेक द टाइम ऑफ. प्रिया, टेक द टाइम ऑफ. आराम करो या दूसरा पढ़ाई करो, इधर टाइम वेस्ट मत करो.
Sir, हमसे तो पूछना था कि I want to get on a call with you तो कब?
आई
Am
कांट.
I audible? अभी आ रहा है आवाज?
हाँ बोलो ना.
हाँ, I was asking I want to get on a call with you तो कब आप फ्री रहेंगे?
आप ये क्लास के बाद कर लो.
Okay, around 4 o'clock. ठीक है, thank you.
वेलकम. Now in the exam, what is important is कि you use the correct rates and you remember the table. तो ये जो table है ना defined benefit plan वाला, this part highlighted in this whatever color this is, make sure that you learn the ingredients in the table. ये ऐसे का ऐसा you will be able to use it in the exam. One type of question that is fairly frequently tested in this is they ask you to do the whole calculation, then they ask you accounting and they ask you to explain what you have done. So then you will have to basically give them a guidance on where did each of the values go and where did the values come from. So contribution made to plan kahan jayega, where will it go, where does the current and past service cost go, interest on net obligation kahan pe jayega. They will just ask you the accounting treatment and then they will ask you to explain it. So that is one possibility of a question that can be tested. So ये table याद रखना is very important. At the end of each year, what you do is you remeasure the components and say for example the net book value is coming to be 50 and the updated value as per the fair value calculations is coming to be 60, then you route it through the other comprehensive income part. Okay. Now, in case of employee benefits, specifically, there are two more concepts that are quite critical. One of which is curtailment, and the other one is asset ceiling. To curtail means to limit something. Okay. So, a curtailment is a significant reduction in the number of employees in a pension plan. This may be a consequence of employees being made redundant. So value before curtailment, take PV of plan obligation minus fair value of plan assets. You will get the net value of obligation. Do the same calculations for post curtailment numbers after you have reduced the number of employees who will be getting benefits under the plan. Compare A and B. The difference goes to P and L. Now this is curtailment without settlement. That is, you have not paid anything to any employee right now. The amount will be paid on superannuation. What is superannuation? Superannuation is when the employee is going to reach the age of 58 or 60 or whatever is defined as the official age for retirement. ठीक है. Now, the benefits paid part we discussed कि यार benefits paid का ना obligation मतलब final calculation पे it will have no impact because the obligation and the net assets both will reduce by 15 will reduce by the same amount. Asset ceiling is basically an extension of the prudence principle. We know that see जब हम contingent liability contingent asset का भी बात करते हैं, we are super careful, we are super cautious when disclosing that or recording that. We don't even disclose a contingent asset if the probability is less than 50%. In case of contingent liabilities, we disclose it when the probability is less than 50%. Why? Because we want to be extra careful, extra prudent when when we are talking about any assets or any income. So here, if we have a situation where the value of net assets is value of assets is greater than the amount of the obligation, it creates a surplus in the financial statements. In very rare cases, the defined benefit plan will show a surplus. That is, plan assets will be more than the amount of obligation. If the defined benefit plan is in surplus, then IAS 19 states that this surplus should be measured at the lower of amount calculated normally or the total of present value of any economic benefits available in the form of refunds from the plan or the reduction in future contributions to the plan. इसका वैल्यू आपको एग्जाम में दिया रहेगा. So they are saying कि even if the net asset value comes to 50, but if you have reasons to believe, if you have calculations to prove that the present value of future economic benefits available in the form of refunds from the plan or reduction is less than 50, then don't show the asset at 50, show it at the lower amount. So, आपका fair value of plan assets could be 950, present value of liability could be 800. So, your net asset position is 150, but present value of future reductions or present value of future refunds and reductions is 70, then what you will do is you will cap the asset value at 70 and you will not take it to 150. Okay. So this basically tells you the upper limit, the upper value, a maximum आप कितना दिखा सकते हो. Even though the calculation tells you 150, you will cap it at 70. ठीक है. Okay. एक बार have a look at how we have written this. ठीक है. चलो. Termination benefits are basically benefits payable at the time of termination of employment. मतलब आप employee को निकाल रहे हो. This is not retirement. This is you are removing the employee or he is taking a voluntary retirement. The reporting entity should recognize an expense and a liability in relation to the termination benefits at the earlier of the following dates when the entity can no longer withdraw the termination benefits offer or when the entity recognizes restructuring cost as per IAS 37. ठीक है. So earlier of the two dates when the entity can no longer withdraw, I mean the amount or the value has been formally communicated and now you cannot withdraw the offer made to the employees anymore because they have also accepted the offer, or when the entity recognizes restructuring cost as per IAS 37, one of the two will be considered. ठीक है। नाउ इन टर्म्स ऑफ अगेन शॉर्ट टर्म बेनिफिट्स और इस सब का तो आपको पता है, एक्सपेंस टू एक्सपेंस पेएबल एंड एक्सपेंस पेएबल टू कैश। इट्स अ relatively straightforward calculation. Now, IFRS 2, that is share-based payments, we have two situations which are possible here. What are these situations? You could either have a equity settled plan or you could have a cash settled plan. Now, in an equity settled plan, again, the calculations are basically guided by an understanding of what is the fair value of options at the grant date. So whenever you are doing share based payments and these are equity settled options, आपको कैसे record करना है? You have to record it using the fair value of options at the grant date, and this is the value that continues throughout the length of the calculation. ठीक है। Now, एक बार just go through the concept of stock options. ठीक है। Whenever you do the accounting for stock options, the first step that you should do is uh, you should determine what is the fair value at grant date. Okay. Then total employees to whom options are granted minus employees expected to leave in, assuming it's a 3-year period, total employees expected to leave in the 3-year period. Number of options per employee आप calculate करेंगे, which will be given to you in some cases. Then total expense to be recorded in the year is A, that is total employees to whom options are granted minus employees expected to leave into B, which is number of options per employee divided by 3 into fair value at grant date, because it is a 3-year compensation plan. So A into B by 3 into fair value at grant date, this becomes the total calculation. And this is something that you are going to spread out over the next 3 years. आप year 2 में जाएंगे, again you will have to recalculate how many employees are there at the start of the year minus how many are still expected to leave in the 3-year period. ये calculation आप बार बार करेंगे till the end of the 3rd year. Now, instead of see, one way in which the entry is recorded is employee compensation expense account debit to equity. The reason we don't credit equity share capital is that we have not yet given equity shares. It's just we are setting aside a part of the total amount in their favor. Tomorrow, if they exercise the option, then they get the shares. Okay. Now, with respect to the share options, there are multiple conditions under which the share options could be granted. One would be a service condition, the other could be a performance condition. Performance condition is, say, for example, the company's share price hitting a particular level, or it could be market based or non-market based. Market based conditions are, we'll give you additional share options if the amount of share price, if the value per share crosses 50 rupees, for example, or we will grant you options if if the profit after tax reaches so and so number. Now, if these are market based conditions, okay, if these are market based conditions, then it is very important for you to know that even in the question, even if the target share price is not achieved, you will still consider that the condition has been fulfilled and do the accounting. If these are non market based conditions, then you don't have to worry so much. नॉन मार्केट बेस्ड कंडीशंस आप चेक करो कि फुलफिल हुआ है कि नहीं। फुलफिल हुआ होगा तो वेस्टिंग होगा। इफ द कंडीशंस आर नॉट फुलफिल्ड देन द वेस्टिंग आल्सो विल नॉट हैपन। If it is a market based condition, that is the share price has hit a particular level, in that is the market based condition कि आपको share options मिलेगा only when the share price crosses 50 rupees. Now even in the question, even if it has not crossed 50 rupees, you will still vest the options to the employee because the fair value at grant date somehow incorporates the fact that the all somehow incorporates all these conditions and probabilities of hitting a particular share price level. नाउ उसका भी अकाउंटिंग तो फिर भी सेम ही होगा। आफ्टर वेस्टिंग डेट यू विल हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ मेनी एम्प्लॉइज हैव एक्सरसाइज द ऑप्शन। जितना एम्प्लॉइज ने ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज किया एम्प्लॉय, सो डेबिट इक्विटी, क्रेडिट इक्विटी, शेयर कैपिटल एंड यू नो दैट बेसिक अकाउंटिंग एंट्री you will have to record in case the employees have exercised the option. The entry will be something like bank account debit, equity account debit to share capital to share premium. ठीक है। Now, if the options are not exercised, out of 30, only 20 are exercised, remaining 10 are not exercised, and the exercise window closes, then what you will do is you will record an entry equity account debit to retained earnings. आपने year on year आपने year on year profit को separate out करके रखा था, because you know you wanted to keep some amount aside for meeting the obligations towards these people. अब the option exercise window has come to an end, so now you are exiting and you are transferring the amount back to retained earnings. Now, like you have equity settled options, you also have cash settled options. What are cash settled options? You don't promise to give shares to the employees, but what you tell them is, say for example, I say, you know, I have these earphones. Okay, I will tell you that, Piyush, whatever is the difference between the fair value of this of these earphones today and what on the say on 31st of December, uska whatever is the fair value, iska difference amount will be settled to you in the for will be given to you in the form of cash. So I am not giving you the earphones. What I am doing is I am giving you the cash equivalent of the difference in fair value. So in case of cash settled transactions, which are also called as share appreciation rights, what we do is we tell the employees कि listen, तुमको हम cash नहीं देंगे, sorry, तुमको हम shares नहीं देंगे, but whatever is the change in the fair value of asset, वो amount आपको दे दिया जाएगा. That is why it is called as a cash settled option. Most of these are in the form of share appreciation rights. So आप क्या करेंगे share appreciation rights के केस में? You will calculate the at the end start of the period, it is assumed that the value of the stock appreciation rights is zero. Year end पे आप उसका fair value record करेंगे. Year one के end पे, then year two में, you know, when the fair value changes from 10 per option, it becomes 12 per option, so that additional 2 rupees ka impact will be recorded till you reach the end of the period. At the end of the period, whichever employee exercises that option, usko aap paise de denge. ठीक है, just have a look at the question once and I'll make you read the solution. Chalo, go through the solution once.
Done.
Year 2, year 3 stock appreciation rights का entry, and then the settlement. Agreem, you are from Mumbai or from Delhi?
Mumbai. Mumbai.
Right.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Anyone from Delhi here?
Sir, I do job in Gurgaon.
Oh, you're working in Gurgaon. Okay.
Yeah.
I was in Gurgaon yesterday.
But right now I am in Jaipur, hometown. It's hybrid, so
Okay.
yeah.
For me, visiting Gurgaon is like, doing a long distance travel. On a good day when the traffic isn't too much, 1.5 hour by road. If not, then 2 hours. It's a lot of time.
Actually, my boss also travels from there, so
Okay.
he also take 2 hours to reach office.
तो एक आध बार कभी once in 2 months मुझे जाना पड़ता है, otherwise there's nothing that I would want from so far.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how stock appreciation rights are accounted for. Now in the exam, I haven't seen too many questions being asked on stock appreciation rights, or in fact IFRS 2 पे भी मैंने कम questions देखे हैं. I will send you the sheets. Make sure that you go through the sheets. A lot of those points are quite self-explanatory. बहुत ज्यादा time IFRS 2 मतलब do IFRS 2 along with IAS 19 and that should be enough for you guys. Abhi, the point that you are standing at now, let me just give you a brief idea about how exactly are you supposed to revise. अभी जो छोटे वाले standards है, don't spend too much time on them. You have थोड़ा सा revised consolidation with me, थोड़ा सा IFRS 15, 12 ये सब आपका हो चुका है. So just go through if you have the Excel sheets and if you want to refer, just go through the topic wise solutions or flowcharts जहाँ जहाँ I have made, read the commentary, that should be enough. अभी नया mock solve करने के चक्कर में आप मत time waste करना. My recommendation to you, when you are writing the paper, I will of course do a session with you one day before the exam to just wish you luck and all of that. I would tell you that start with ethics. If I were in your place, I would have done it. If something else works for you, that's also fine. I would start with ethics because the ethics question usually is predictable. Whatever they have done is wrong. And we usually know what is wrong. Apart from confidentiality, everything else is a problem. So commenting on that becomes easier. I would do question 2 first. Then I would go to question 3, question 4, because usme bhi I would go to the current issue sustainability wala question first because it doesn't have so much logic and understanding. वो फटफट करके मैं आगे निकल जाऊंगा. Then what I will do is I will then maybe do the other section B question. Consolidation I will leave for the end. But if you look at the question and you feel कि अरे ये मुझे बहुत अच्छे से आता है consolidation, just get down and finish it off. It depends on you. The amount of time that you devote is critical. Remember, 4 questions done with 85% accuracy are better than 3 questions done with 100% accuracy. This is not a 10th standard exam, this is not a 12th standard exam कि यार 100 में से 100 आना है. एक मेरे स्टूडेंट को मिला भी है 99 on 100, बट वो रेयर केसेस होते हैं, राइट? सो डोंट थिंक ऑफ 100 on 100. सब स्कूल में भी नहीं आता था, अब भी नहीं आता. इट्स ओके. Even out of 100 marks, you don't know something, that's fine. What you have to do is you have to maximize your marks. And how do you do it? By taking control of your mind. If you see, it's a mind game at the end of the day. The first question will be difficult. That is how they will put a speed breaker in your journey. If you spend around 80-90 minutes on the first question, which is worth 30 marks, you see the clock and you start freaking out. कि I have spent 90 minutes and I have only done 130 mark question. उसमें भी एक कैलकुलेशन नहीं आ रहा है, एक थियोरी नहीं पता, कुछ और 4 मार्क का गड़बड़ हो गया है. So effectively you feel, oh, I am only getting 20 marks in this out of 30, which is, by the way, not such a bad deal. Huh? Getting 20 on 30 is not a bad deal. But you start panicking and then the disease spreads all over the paper. That panic disease will spread all over the paper. So don't do that. Start with something that is easy so that you give yourself that confidence. I would never recommend you to do 1C and then 2B and then 3D. ऐसे सब मत करो. पूरा क्वेश्चन सॉल्व इट इन वन प्लेस. इफ यू फील कि यार 20 मार्क्स का एथिक्स का क्वेश्चन है एंड यू फील कि यार 35 मिनट्स हो गया है, फिर भी ना ये एक एडजस्टमेंट मुझे नहीं आता, वहां पे छोड़ो और आगे निकलो उस पे. और जो आपको 35 मिनट्स में नहीं आया वो आपको और 15 मिनट्स में भी नहीं आएगा. Correct. Spend time on the ethics question for say maximum 30-35 minutes. Move on to the next question in section B. Spend around 45 minutes on that at best. कुछ छूटा होगा 3-4 मार्क का, वो छोड़ो और आगे बढ़ो. ठीक है. Don't spend so much time on those 4 marks that you end up ruining everything else that is there in the paper. वो अपने को नहीं करना है. See, even in a 100 marks paper, you don't know something worth 20 marks. Don't let the 20 spoil the 80. पूरा का पूरा paper is not the one standard that you are scared of. Please keep that in mind. All of us have standards we don't like. I can say now with exams so close, I don't like employee benefits at all. मुझे नहीं पसंद वो standard. As a student भी नहीं पसंद. As a faculty पढ़ाना पड़ता है. I don't have a choice. Does that, so I have to be smart about it, right? I have to control my thoughts. जो आता है वो करो, आगे बढ़ो. डोंट गेट दैट ईगो इन माइंड कि अरे मुझे तो सब आना चाहिए तो मैं पूरा सॉल्व करूंगा. मत करो यार. वी नीड अ 50 टू क्लियर एंड लेट नॉट 50 बी द टारगेट. बट इतना तो भरोसा है आपको अपने आप पे कि यार यू सॉल्व एन 80 मार्क्स वर्थ ऑफ पेपर, यू विल बी एबल टू टैकल. आपको उस 80 में से 65 तो आ जाएगा, 70 के आसपास तो आप. दिस इज द कॉन्फिडेंट पार्ट दैट यू नो अबाउट, राइट? Now, in the last 2-3 attempts, I have seen IFRS 8 getting tested very, very frequently. Does that mean हर एग्जाम में IFRS 8 आएगा? We don't know. But the point is, standards which you deem to be silly. ठीक है. जैसे IFRS 8, अरे कौन करेगा? Let me focus on consolidation. भाई पूरा पेपर कंसोलिडेशन नहीं है, बाकी के भी स्टैंडर्ड्स है आपके सिलेबस में. थोड़ा सा उनको भी इंपॉर्टेंस दो. इम्पेयरमेंट भी है, IFRS 5 भी है. एंड एट दिस स्टेज योर अप्रोच शुड बी खट 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 मूव ऑन. 1 2 3 4 मूव ऑन. 1 2 3 4 मूव ऑन. नाउ डोंट स्पेंड सो मच टाइम ऑन एक आधा टॉपिक. अगर नहीं पता, ठीक है बॉस, नहीं पता. 10th स्टैंडर्ड में कौन सा सब पढ़ के जाते थे आप? कौन सा सब याद था? नहीं था ना. मतलब इट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि अगर उस टाइम पे विद सच लिमिटेड सिलेबस यू आर नॉट एबल टू रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग, देन व्हाई डू यू हैव दिस अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशन कि अब सब कुछ याद आना चाहिए? जरूरी नहीं है. इट्स ओके. सो स्पेंड टाइम ऑन व्हाट यू नो एंड जस्ट एंश्योर दैट यू डू इट प्रॉपरली. उसके ऊपर आपको कुछ भी करने का और लोड लेने का जरूरत नहीं है. I found something for you guys. I'm sending it on all the groups. These are 72-page flowcharts. उसमें एम्बेडेड डेरिवेटिव्स का भी पोर्शन है, बट वो मत करना बिकॉज वो आपके सिलेबस से हटा दिया है. दिस इज लाइक 72 पेजेस, एकदम खुला खुला फ्लो चार्ट है जिसमें आपका बहुत सारा रिविजन हो जाएगा. उससे एक बार नजर मार लेना. ज्यादा नहीं है, आधे आधे पेज तो खाली है उसमें. और ड्राइंग बनाई है मैंने ऐसे ऐसे, राउंड स्क्वायर व्हाट ऑल. तो जस्ट फोकस ऑन दीज फ्लो चार्ट्स. इससे आपको, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दिस इज एवरीथिंग, इट इज नॉट, बट इट इज समथिंग इट इज द स्टार्ट ऑफ जो इजी स्टैंडर्ड्स है, कम से कम वो तो आपके रिवाइज हो जाएंगे यहाँ पे, भले ही सारे के सारे ना हो, इजी वाले स्टैंडर्ड्स तो रिवाइज हो जाएंगे, तो वो कर लो, ठीक है। एंड डोंट वरी टू मच, you are well prepared for your exam. Tell yourself that you are well prepared. The moment you allow that self doubt to come in, that's literally the end of the road for you. फिर वो सेल्फ डाउट से आपको कोई नहीं बचा सकता, वो बस आपको अवॉइड करना है। एंड जाओ अच्छे से पेपर लिखो, कुछ भी डाउट रहेगा तो बता दो, ठीक है। चलो भागो, अभी आराम करो।
Okay.
डोंट पुट सो मच स्ट्रेस गाइस, वन थिंग यू शुड नेवर डू इज सैक्रिफाइसिंग ऑन स्लीप। 6 घंटा तो 6 घंटा, लेकिन सो जाओ प्लीज, अदरवाइज ना यू विल बी स्लीपी इन द एग्जाम हॉल। अब दैट्स हैपनिंग टू मी। पिछला 1 महीना आई हैव बर्न्ट माई सेल्फ आउट, अब मेरे से बैठा ही नहीं जाता है। आई एम जस्ट स्लीपिंग बिकॉज इट्स नेचुरल यार, द बॉडी विल गिव अप। सो डोंट डू दैट टू योर सेल्फ, ठीक है।
Thank you.
चलो, ऑल द
Bye
बेस्ट।
bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.